Now, the 7th play of the 12 written by Dorothy L. Sayers in the early 1940s about the man born to be king.
The Man Born to be King. A cycle of plays on the life of Jesus Christ. The 7th play, The Light and the Life. Now, in the village of Bethany, nigh to Jerusalem, there dwelt a man named Lazarus, with his sisters Martha and Mary. Mary had been a great sinner till she met Jesus, and now, when he came to visit the house, she sat at his feet and listened to his words. But Martha was cumbered with much serving. There you are, Martha. The spit's turning again. It's working all right now.
Thank you, John Bar-Zebedee. I wish everybody was as helpful as you are. Now I must get on with the cooking. How many to supper? The rabbi and you, and us 3, that's 5.
Simon, Peter,
6.
and James, if they get back from Jerusalem in time.
7. And I hope James will remember the spices.
James won't forget. Are you sure there's nothing more I can do?
No, run along now. You'll find the rabbi out in the courtyard with Sister Mary and Brother Lazarus. Abigail, hurry up with those peas. Oh, John?
Yes?
Does the rabbi like fig stuffing or dates? Or shall I just do it up with raisins and a few olives?
Oh, fig stuffing, I think.
All right.
You are all out here in the courtyard. Sorry to be so long.
John.
Welcome, John.
Come along, John, and sit down. You look hot.
It's the kitchen fire. I was mending the spit. There wasn't much wrong with it.
Oh, dear, it would have done quite well tomorrow. We've kept some sherbet for you.
Oh, thank you, Mary. It's lovely and cool out here. I think sunset is the pleasantest hour of all the day.
And this is the pleasantest time of the year. Look at the leaves of the vine. So green with the light slanting through them. And the dappled shadows dancing on the pavement.
The leaves will not be green much longer. They will soon be falling.
And they're beautiful when they fall. Red and yellow and russet brown, crisped and curled at the edges. And when the wind blows them along the ground, they make a little whispering noise as though they were telling a gay secret. But Lazarus is always sad in the evening. Brother, you should be merrier.
In a world like this, what is there to be merry about? There is much labour and great disquiet, fear and a little trembling laughter. The most a man can hope for is tranquility, and perhaps even that is too much to expect. I think there is a terror at the heart of God's mystery. Is it not so, Rabbi? Is not the fear of the Lord the beginning of wisdom?
When he established the foundations of the earth, I was with him, forming all things. And I was delighted every day, playing before him, playing in the world, and delighting myself among the sons of men.
Master, of whom is that said?
Of the word and wisdom of God.
Does joy go so deep as that? To the very foundations of the world? Well, I will do my best, but I am not light-hearted by nature.
No. Even as a boy you were quiet and melancholy. My grave elder brother. You tried to tame my wild spirits. If I'd listened to you, I should never have sinned so deeply. But there was so much to enjoy. I loved the beauty of the world. I loved the lights and the laughter, the jewels and the perfumes and the gold. and the applause of the people when I danced with garlands of lilies in the red braids of my hair and delighted them all.
You were always in love with life, Mary.
I love the wrong things in the wrong way. And yet it was love of a sort, until I found a better.
Because the love was so great, the sin is all forgiven.
Kind Rabbi, you told me so when I fell at your feet in the house of Simon the Pharisee.
Mary.
Did you know, Jesus, my companions and I came there that day to mock you.
Mm-hmm.
We thought you'd be sour and grim, hating all beauty and treating life as an enemy, but when I saw you, I was amazed. You were the only person there that was really alive. The rest of us were going about half dead, making the gestures of life, pretending to be real people. The life wasn't with us, but with you. Intense and shining, like the strong sun when it rises and turns the flames of our candles to pale smoke. And I wept and was ashamed, seeing myself such a thing of trash and tawdry.
Oh, no.
But when you spoke to me,
Mm-hmm.
I felt the flame of the sun in my heart. I came alive for the first time. And I love life all the more since I've learnt its meaning.
That's what I'm here for. I came that men should lay hold of life and possess it to the full.
Rabbi,
Yes, Lazarus.
what you're saying is true. I feel it in you, too. That immense vitality at which a man may warm himself, as at a fire.
Yes.
In your presence, I think no one could easily yield to death. Not even I. Yet I am not like Mary. I hold to life only with one hand, and not with a very strong clasp. If death came to me quietly one day when you were not beside me, I should not struggle, but slip away with him in silence and be glad to go.
Oh, brother.
Do you love me so little, Lazarus?
I love you dearly. To say that I would die for you is nothing. I would almost be ready to live for you, if you asked me.
Oh, Master, hold him to that promise. Look, Lazarus, you've made your sister cry.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I'm rather a depressing companion. Pay no attention. Dry your eyes, Mary.
Abigail, you careless girl, you've broken the big yellow...
Here's Martha coming.
Now, will somebody tell me, please, how much longer are Peter and James going to be?
Not long, Martha.
Well, the meat will be dried to a cinder.
Oh, dear.
Yes, and Mary, I do wish you'd take a little interest in the housekeeping. There's too much work for one pair of hands, and Abigail is no use at all.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Martha.
but Martha...
It's all very well for men to sit about talking all day, but a woman's place is in the kitchen. Rabbi, why do you encourage Mary to leave everything to me? Don't you think it's a little unfair? Do tell her to come and help me.
Martha, dear, you are the kindest soul alive. Come into the house with me a moment. You work so hard and you take so much trouble about everything, except perhaps the greatest thing of all, the thing that Mary cares about. She's chosen the better part and you mustn't take it away from her.
Rabbi, I don't grudge Mary anything, but I still don't think it's quite fair. She was away from home long enough, goodness knows, and considering everything, I think the least you can do is...
Martha, can the cooking get on without you for just 5 minutes?
Well, I dare say it could.
Then stop worrying about it for one moment and sit down here with me. That's it. Now, do you remember a story I told you the first time I ever came to see you?
The day you brought Mary back to us.
Yes.
Was it the one about the youngest son who ran away abroad to see life and he wasted all his money and had to keep pigs, and then he was sorry and came home and his father forgave him?
Yes, that one. Now, did I ever tell you about his elder brother?
No, Rabbi. It ended with the father having a feast for the one who'd come home.
Oh, yes. Well, the elder brother was working in the fields all this time, and when he came back he was surprised to hear music and dancing and a party going on. So he called one of the servants and asked, "What's happening?" And the servant said, "Your young brother's come home, sir, and your father's killed a fatted calf because he's so glad to have him back safe and sound."
Yeah.
But the elder brother was angry and wouldn't go in, but sat sulking outside till his father came out and begged him to join in the merrymaking. "Look here, sir," said the elder brother, "I worked for you all these years and I've been a good son to you, and you've never let me have so much as a roast kid to entertain my friends. And here's this brother of mine who squandered your money in dissipation and bad company, and you go and kill the fatted calf for him. It isn't fair."
Yes, right.
And the father said, Son, you are with me all the time, and everything I have is yours. But it is right that we should rejoice and make merry today, for your younger brother is alive, when we all thought he was dead. He was lost, and now we have found him.
Oh, Rabbi, perhaps I have resented things a little bit. Down underneath, not on top. Rather pleased with myself, you know, for acting more generously than I felt. Staying at home all day, one gets a bit narrow and exacting. A bit... Yes, Rabbi, I know what you're going to say. Don't say it.
Very well, then. I won't.
Let's go and call the others in, and we'll start supper. Come along in now, Lazarus and Mary and John. We won't wait for the others. If their supper's spoiled, it'll be their own fault for being late.
Who says we're late? Here we are. We ran half the way. I would have started earlier, but...
James and Peter, did you bring the groceries?
Yes, rather. Here they are. I say, Master, you know that blind man you healed yesterday?
Yes? What about him?
The man up before the synagogue court.
Come and have
They
supper,
questioned him
do
about
you
what
can
happened. They
talk
asked him all about
afterwards.
you.
And
He
you're
even dared to suggest that he wasn't blind to begin with.
very quiet.
Now let us get this straight. Shall I handle this?
Yes.
You say you are Jacob ben Issachar, blind from birth, and you get your living by begging.
That's right. Blind from my birth till yesterday. Everybody knows me. I've had my pitch on the corner of the temple steps this 30 years.
Now tell us exactly what happened.
I was sitting in my old place yesterday afternoon, as usual.
Yesterday, that was the Sabbath.
That's right. I was sitting there and I hears a party of men come along. Might have been 10 or a dozen of them. One of them puts a penny in my bowl and says to another one, Rabbi Jesus, why was this poor man born blind? Was it to punish some sin of his parents, or did he commit sin himself in a something or
previous existence?
Ah, that's right, yeah. Before I was born, I took him to mean, and the other gentleman answers him and says neither he nor his parents are to blame, but it was ordained that the works of God should be shown in him. And then he says, I must work the works of him that sent me while the daylight lasts, because the nights are coming in which no man can work. Rather sorrowful like he says that, and he goes on, so long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world.
What did he mean by that?
Well, how should I know? Then this same gentleman, him they call Jesus, comes up close to me and puts something on my eyes, like clay or something of that, and he says, now go to the pool of Siloam and wash yourself.
Nothing more?
Not a word.
Did he say you would get your eyes open?
No, nothing, only what I told you.
Then why did you go?
I don't know. But I sort of made out by his voice there was something good coming. Voices mean a lot when you're blind, you see. I noticed that voice meant well by me, so off I goes to the pool and washes careful, and when I got the clay all off, I found I could see. Lord, mister, that was queer, that was. I'd never seen in my life, you know. At first I didn't know what to do with myself. I blundered about all over the place. But I soon learnt. Oh, it's a beautiful thing to be able to see the people and the city and the blessed sky and the trees. You sighted folk don't know how lucky you are. You
Quite
simply
so.
don't know.
Quite so. This happened on the Sabbath, you say?
That's right, and a blessed Sabbath it was for me.
A clear case of Sabbath breaking.
This Jesus seems to go out of his way to affront all decent feeling. He could perfectly well have cured the man some other day of the week.
Well, the better the day, the better the deed, ain't it?
Nonsense. That's a very wicked thing to say.
All work is a sin on the Sabbath, however beneficial its effects. This man Jesus is a notorious Sabbath breaker and a very bad man.
Oh, is he? I wish there was a few more like him.
I must say that if the miracles are genuine, I don't say they are, but if they are, where does Jesus get his power, if not from God?
From the devil, for all I know. The man's probably a sorcerer.
Plenty of sorcerers profess to perform cures.
And half the time the things are fake. I shouldn't wonder if this Jacob was a Confederate.
Gosh,
I don't believe he was ever blind at all.
Now, Jacob, listen to us. I adjure you solemnly in the great name of God, speak the truth. Were you ever really blind?
I was blind. Jesus of Nazareth opened me eyes, and that is the truth before God.
It is our considered opinion that the man Jesus is an impostor. Do you question the decision of the court?
Well, sir, all I know is I used to be blind, and now I can see.
But how do you know Jesus had anything to do with it? How did he open your eyes?
I've told you all that already. Weren't you listening? You seem dead set on hearing about the Rabbi Jesus. Are you thinking of becoming his disciple?
How dare you speak like that? It's contempt of court.
Now look here, my good man. You may be a disciple of Jesus. We follow Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses. But as for this fellow, nobody knows who he is or where he comes from.
Well, now, that's a queer thing, ain't it? You don't know where the man comes from, and yet he knew how to open my eyes. He's a bad man, you say. All right. Does God hear the prayers of bad people? No, says you. Of course he don't. Does he hear the prayers of good people? Yes, you says. Yes, he does. Well, looky here. Here's a thing never heard on since the world began, that somebody should open the eyes of a man as was born blind. Nobody can do a thing like that, only by God's help. Stands to reason.
You are altogether born in sin. Have you the effrontery to preach to us? Jacob ben Issachar, you shall be excommunicated for this.
Cast out of the synagogue.
And cut off from the congregation.
Well, it's a funny world, ain't it? Turned out of house and home at this time of night. All very well to talk about getting a job, but who's going to employ a bloke what's been kicked out of the synagogue? Still, no use grousing. I got my sight, and you never know your luck. You're right. I'd better get out of here. I'll try this door. Oh, Lord, what a lovely thing the moon is. To think I never seen it till last night. I beg your pardon, sir. I didn't hear you coming. Here, I say, I ought to know that voice. I can't see your face all that clearly by night, but faces mean nothing to me, and you look the way you ought to look if you're the man I take you for.
Jacob ben Issachar, are you glad of the gift that you found in the pool of Siloam?
That's it. That's the voice that brought the light to me that sat in darkness. I couldn't be mistaken. You are Jesus of Nazareth. Oh, sir.
Not so loud, Jacob.
Oh, yes, that's right. You're in danger in Jerusalem. Why did you come?
To look for you. They said that for my sake you would be cast out of the synagogue.
Yes, and that's just what's happened. But never you fret for that, sir. I'll make shift somehow.
Tell me, Jacob, do you believe in the Son of Man?
Do you mean the Messiah, sir?
Yes, that's right.
Of course I believe in his coming.
Are you ready to trust him?
Why, yes, sir, if I knew who he was. You spoke as though he was here. Tell me where to find him and I'll trust him right enough.
You've seen him already.
What?
He's speaking to you now.
You, sir? Oh, indeed, I might have known it. Oh, if ever a man came straight from God, sir, it's you. Say no more, Rabbi. I trust you. I'd follow you to the world's end. You won't send me away?
If anyone comes to me, I will never cast him out.
Dear me, a very affecting sight and a most moving conversation.
Oh, who's that?
We are rulers of the synagogue, Jacob ben Issachar. The lattice of this house overlooks the street very conveniently. Do you know that it is an offense to acknowledge this man as the Messiah?
You made that pretty clear this afternoon. But I'm finished with you now, and I'll go where I'm wanted.
Quite so. The blind go to Jesus of Nazareth by night. Most appropriate. But we have eyes and ears.
As you say, it is appropriate. For wherever I go, I bring judgment. And I came into the world that the blind might see, and that the seeing might be struck blind.
Do you mean to insinuate that we are blind?
Well, blindness is not a sin. If you were blind and knew it, you would not be to blame. But you are blind, and you insist that you see clearly.
We will not bandy words with you.
But one thing we have seen and noted. You have deliberately welcomed as your follower this man we have excommunicated. This black sheep who has been cast out of the fold of Israel.
Cast out of the fold? Say rather, he came into the fold at my call.
What do you mean by that?
I am the shepherd whom the sheep are glad to follow. I know my own, and they know me. I will lay down my life for the sheep.
If you go on provoking the authorities, I dare say they will take your life.
Nobody can take my life. I lay it down of my own accord, and because I am the shepherd of Israel...
The Lord God is the shepherd of Israel.
My authority is of God. Just as my Father knows me and I know him, so I know my sheep and am known by them. My gift to them is eternal life, and no one can snatch them out of my hand. For my Father gave them to me, and he is almighty. No one can snatch anything from the hand of God, and my Father and I are one.
When he had said these things, the Jews sought again to stone him. But he escaped out of their hand, and departed beyond Jordan, and there abode. And many believed on him. And presently it came to pass that Martha and Mary sent unto him, saying, Rabbi, Lazarus, whom thou lovest, is very ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. And so he went not unto Bethany, but remained where he was, beyond Jordan, for 2 days longer.
What have you got there, James?
Roses of Sharon. They're in bloom all over this valley.
Ah, it's a treat to see the spring again. But I've enjoyed these last few months, haven't you?
Yes, Peter, it's been wonderful. So peaceful. And such a relief to be out of Jerusalem. I know it's the holy city and all that, but you could feel hatred and hypocrisy oozing out of the very stones. And thinking all the time the master would be arrested or murdered.
I was afraid when that message came about Lazarus that he'd want to go up to Bethany again and run his head into danger.
So was I, Matthew. It's a blessing the illness was only a slight one.
Yes, I've wondered about that rather. Of course, the master knows best, but Lazarus hasn't much vitality, and if he got really ill, I don't think he'd put up much of a fight.
Well, if he's held his own till now, he'll probably pull through. Perhaps the master thought he ought to make the effort. What do you think, John?
Perhaps that was it. Anyway, I'm thankful, selfishly thankful, that we're staying on here. No riots, no heckling, no arguments. Nothing but the country people really loving him. It feels as though the kingdom were here already.
Aye, like the master said, wherever there is love, there's the kingdom. And maybe this is the way it's to come, just working quietly. Like the yeast in the dough, same as he told us.
The master's been happy here too, as serene as he was when we first knew him.
And I'm afraid it's too good to last. You weren't here last night, John.
Huh?
He talked again about dying.
Oh, Matthew. I'd sort of hoped... I mean, he hasn't mentioned it lately. And after we'd got away from Jerusalem, I managed to forget about it. Almost. I can't bear it. Gives me a kind of sick feeling in my stomach. And what did he say?
He used that horrible phrase again. Strung up on the gallows.
I did that.
I saw Judas looking awfully queer. Which reminds me, what's the matter with Judas? He's always hinting things.
What things?
About not taking too much for granted and the bad effects of popularity.
But that's what the master says.
I know. But why does Judas watch him so closely, as though he was waiting to catch him out in something? And you know, the other night, I saw him talking to a very wild-looking man, like a hill bandit, and giving him money, in a furtive sort of way.
Giving him money?
What money? Not out of the alms box.
Look here, Matthew. What are you trying to say? Are you accusing Judas
I'm
of...
not accusing anybody. But I thought it looked funny, that's all.
You oughtn't to say such things, Matthew, unless
I've had my doubts about Judas for some time. Now, see here. I wanted cash last week for a poor family. Seemingly, there wasn't none. Well, I knew that we couldn't have spent all that we got for the last catch of fish. So what's left of it, I said. Judas looked me straight in the eye. Too straight if you ask me, and said he'd bestowed it on a deserving object. I know them deserving objects which you can't put a name to. But there. Well, I couldn't prove nothing, so I didn't say nothing. Shh. Here's the master coming. Now, don't get worrying him with it. Not till you're sure.
Of course not.
Oh, dear, he's got Judas with him.
Well, children, we've spent a happy winter. But I've just been telling Judas that the time has come when we must be moving, haven't I, Judas?
Yes, Rabbi.
So we'll go into Judea again.
Master, you know what happened last time. They tried to stone you. Do you really want to go back there?
I must. Apart from anything else, I've had news of our friend Lazarus.
Is he worse?
He's fallen asleep, and I must go and wake him.
Well, he's having a good sleep. He's in a fair way to mend.
Children, Lazarus is dead.
Dead?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Master, if only...
If only I'd gone earlier. Well, John, for your sakes, I'm glad I wasn't there, because you must learn to believe.
But if he's dead, it's no good going now.
Let us go to him all the same.
Do you really want to go?
I am going, but don't come if you'd rather not.
Master, can't you speak plainly?
Yes, Judas? What about?
What about this journey? Why do you want to go to Judea? To weep at the grave and console the bereft? Is that all? Or do you mean to come out boldly, to leave this pleasant backwater, and face the flood tide of events?
I wonder, Judas.
I wish I knew what to make of you. Sometimes you speak as though you meant to dare everything and take the consequences. But which way? Which way? You've made the way of the kingdom plain, but there is another way, and another kind of kingdom, and there are things going on that I don't understand. Or perhaps I understand too well. For God's sake, Master, are you honest? Or do your words say one thing and your actions another?
Judas, I said to you once before that some of you still don't trust me. And I have said, and I tell you again, blessed is the man that has no doubts about me. Without faith you can do nothing. And if you believe in God, you must also believe in me. But you must trust me completely or not at all. When the Son of Man comes, shall he find faith in the world?
Oh, there now, he's gone. Look here, Judas, what on earth made you go off the deep end like that? You talk as though the master was up to some sort of funny business.
Why didn't he answer my questions?
What questions? I couldn't make out what you were driving at.
He understood well enough, and he wouldn't give a straight answer.
Well, I don't see that you had any call to come busting up with a lot of questions.
That's right.
Ain't he got enough to worry him, with poor Lazarus dead, and his wanting to go to Bethany, and people only waiting to throw stones at him?
Aye.
Let alone us objecting to everything and contradicting and getting cold feet about it.
I asked him...
We ain't even had the grace to say whether we're going with him or not.
Yeah, but...
A nice bunch of disciples we are, I must say, shilly-shallying about.
I only said it was dangerous for him in Judea.
But that won't stop him, Peter. You ought to know that by now. He's made up his mind. And he'll go if it kills him.
That's a fact.
You've got to trust him to know what's right.
And after all, he came out safe before.
Well, I shouldn't count on that. What I say is, he's our master and our friend. And if he's going to be killed, let us go too and die with him.
Of course. There's nothing else we can do.
There's nothing else to do. Well, what do you say, Judas?
If he goes, I'll go too. It's not death that I'm afraid of. Come on, all of you. Wait for us, Master!
Master!
Wait! We're coming.
When Jesus came to Bethany, he found that Lazarus had lain in the grave 4 days already. And many Jews had come from Jerusalem to comfort Martha and Mary concerning their brother. Mary sat still in the house. But Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went out to meet him.
Oh, Rabbi, you've heard what trouble we're in.
Yes, Martha, my dear.
My brother Lazarus is dead. Oh, if only you had come earlier, you would have healed him and he wouldn't be lying there cold in his grave. Even now I know that God will give you anything you ask. Yet what can prayers do for one who is dead and buried?
Take comfort, Martha. Your brother shall rise again.
Yes, Rabbi, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day.
I am the resurrection and the life. They that believe in me shall live, even though they were dead, and the living that believe in me shall never die. Do you believe this, Martha?
Yes, Master, I do believe in you. I believe you are the Christ, the Son of God, sent into the world as the prophets foretold.
So much at least you believe. Where's Mary?
At home. I'll run and fetch her. Mary.
What is it, Martha?
The master is here and is asking for you. Come quick. He's waiting for us outside.
Oh, thank God he's come at last. Oh, but Martha, I hope it wasn't dangerous for him to come back.
Mary.
Oh, Rabbi, dear Master, you are welcome to our sad hearts. Alas, if you had come earlier, our brother would never have died.
Are you sure of that, Mary?
Oh, yes, I'm sure. For I heard him tell you so, and indeed I believe that death itself could never abide your presence.
Oh, my sisters. Oh, my children. If only the world had faith enough, that would be true indeed. Where have you laid Lazarus?
He lies in a cave a little way from here.
Show me the place.
This way, Master.
This way. There is the place, dear Master. He lies in that quiet tomb hewn out of the rock, with a great stone laid across it.
Our brother Lazarus, who had no love for life, let the burden slip from his shoulders, and now is troubled no longer.
He carried his life as a condemned man carries his cross, but now he has laid it down.
If any man love me, Let him take up his cross and follow me. Bid the mourners roll away the stone from the tomb.
Roll away the stone? Master, he has been 4 days dead. The stench of corruption is on his flesh.
Did I not tell you that if you believed, you should see the glory of God? Roll back the stone!
Will none of you men do as the rabbi says? Oh, John, they're afraid.
We will do it for you, Mary. Peter, James, come. Set your hands to the stone.
Here's a crowbar.
Lift all together.
The grave is open.
Now, what will he do?
Look. He is praying.
Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I know that thou hearest me always. But I give thee thanks aloud, that these people that stand by may hear it, and believe that thou hast sent me. Lazarus!
Oh, Mary, he is calling to the dead.
Lazarus! Come forth!
Listen, listen.
Oh, look. Oh, look. Out into the daylight, blind and bound, moving, still fast in the grave bends.
Unbind him. Take the cloth from his face.
No, no, what will it look like, the face of the 4 days dead?
Lazarus, dear brother, speak if you can.
Lord Jesus!
You are smiling. You're laughing. You're alive.
Yes, I am alive.
Where have you been?
With life.
Do you know who called you back?
Life. He is here. And he has never left me.
Then many of the Jews which came to Bethany and had seen what Jesus did believed on him. But some of the Jews went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what had happened. And the chief priests and Pharisees gathered a council together.
Here's this man wandering about the country, preaching sedition, breaking the law, practicing magic and necromancy and goodness knows what. And what are we doing about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Come, come. We have had several committee meetings and passed quite a number of resolutions.
Yes, and what's the good of that? He comes and goes as he likes and nobody interferes. If the nation rallies to this miracle worker, Rome will intervene and take away even such miserable remnants of liberty as we have left. Will you tell us, my Lord Caiaphas, whether any active steps are being taken in the matter or not?
Yes, they are being taken.
I'm glad to hear it.
But we have to have a clear case and choose the right moment. Otherwise, Rome might intervene on the side of Jesus, and that would be disastrous. We want to have the thing so watertight that nothing can save this man from the gallows.
I agree we must go cautiously, but...
I don't see the need for all this caution. What is the matter with you all? Are you afraid of the man?
Yes, we are afraid, and we ought to be afraid. Whose power is in this man? I tell you, there is fear in my very bones, lest in fighting against Jesus, we are fighting against God.
Whoever heard such rubbish?
I agree with Nicodemus. Jesus is a prophet of God. Shall our names go down to history with those who persecuted the prophets? I implore the Sanhedrin to think again before committing what is certainly injustice and maybe the most appalling sacrilege.
Joseph of Arimathea.
My Lord Caiaphas.
And Brother Nicodemus.
Caiaphas.
Do I understand that you admit the claim of Jesus of Nazareth to be the Messiah? Because that is what he does claim. He doesn't say that he is a prophet. He says he is the Christ. If you propose to support that claim publicly, you may, of course. There is a penalty attached. But if anybody takes the view that Jesus bar Joseph is the promised Messiah and the King of Israel, he had better say so at once, and then we shall know where we are.
I have no wish to defy the Sanhedrin.
I am only anxious that an innocent person shall not be victimized.
The word victim always arouses feeling. But I said before, and I say again, that it is better to sacrifice one man rather than the whole nation. That is not persecution, it is policy. I think we had better put the matter to the vote. The proposal is that we should proceed against Jesus of Nazareth for witchcraft and blasphemy. Will those in favor kindly signify their assent in the usual way?
Agreed.
Thank you. Against? Thank you. The proposal is carried. 2 members abstaining from voting.
And from that day forth, they took counsel together how they should put Jesus to death. The Light and the Life was the 7th of a cycle of plays on the life of Jesus Christ, the man born.
Marjorie Westbury, John Wise, Alan Wheatley, Richard Herndl, Howison Colfe, Gabriel Wolfe and Stephen Jack. It was written by Dorothy L. Sayers and dramatised by the producer Raymond Rakes. Tomorrow at the same time, Jesus is steadfast in his intention to go to Jerusalem. But as you probably know, there will be consequences. Enter Judas.